I am 40 years old, brought my wife, 35 years old, and her two children to the US from the Philippines. I love her, but I'm being worn down by her complete lack of initiative, financial responsibility, including secret gambling, and refusal to communicate about serious issues. The constant stress is severely impacting my health, and I'm feeling alone and questioning everything. I need some advice, outside perspective. I'm 40 and my wife is 35 and she has two kids. I met my wife on a dating app just before the pandemic at the time. She was living in Manila, having just returned from a work contract in Saudi Arabia, while her two kids lived with their mother in the province. I was very attracted to her, and the idea of becoming a father to her kids was appealing since I hadn't found the right person to settle down with. In 2020, I flew to the Philippines to meet her in person. We traveled the country and I met her kids and her mother in Davao. I was too nervous to travel to her home province. During the trip, I proposed to her. However, before I returned to the US, we had a huge fight that almost ended things. She admitted she had been talking to another man who was sending her money. This was a massive red flag. You think, bud? You think that's a red flag? The fact that she's talking to a man and he's sending her money? What a simp. Sometimes I refuse to continue, but I think it's important for men to be aware of these things. Let's continue reading this pathetic man's story. But because I had already proposed, I dug my heels in. I found a way to forgive her after she promised to cut off all communication with him. Back in the US, I started the finance fiancé visa process. About a year and a half later, I went back to the Philippines and leased a condo in BGC for her and the kids. While we waited out the final 9 months of the visa process, we are now all here in the US living in a rental with one car. I work full-time and I've had a dip into my personal savings and investments to cover living expenses, which is something I never wanted to do. The core issue is the reason I'm questioning her motive in our relationship stems from a few key problems that keep repeating. She takes no initiative. This applies to everything: her kids' schooling, pursuing her own education or improving her work situation, integration into our community, or even trying to open up to people she meets here. She only works because I forced the issue. She had a part-time job, but only because I wrote her a resume, found her a job opening, drove her to the interview, and pushed her to do everything and every single step. She has no concept of financial planning. She doesn't understand budgeting, using coupons, finding deals, or sticking to a financial plan that involves making sacrifice. It's a constant struggle to get her to think more than a few days ahead, which results in multiple grocery trips every week and unnecessary costs. This constant stress is taxing me and my health. Literally, I had a heart attack at 31 years old, and I've battled with the weight and stress management ever since. The relationship is pushing me to my limits. Recent examples: it's hard to capture everything, but here are some specific examples starting with today. The meal plan meltdown today. We help care for my grandmother who has dementia. My mom prepares her meals, puts them in containers, and labels them every day, all the items. She uses detailed lists to plan her shopping. This is how I've always lived. I've been trying gently to encourage my wife to adopt a similar system. Have shown her my mom's labels, explained the benefits, and expressed the frustration with the extra grocery trips. Today, I finally asked her directly to start making a weekly meal plan list. Her response was a complete meltdown. She gave me the silent treatment, Tampo, for the entire day and has been crying alone in the unfinished basement room. When I try to talk to her about it, she goes quiet or deflects. The secret gambling. A couple of months ago, I was on the verge of divorcing her. I discovered she had secretly downloaded her gaming app and gambling app and was using the money I gave her for household expenses to gamble. She swore she would stop, so I let it go. This was before she had the part-time job that I had pushed her into. She now clear to me that I hadn't forced her to get the job. She would likely still be gambling. It's clear to me that would happen. The streamer phase. This isn't the first time she's wasted time and money. While we're living together in Manila, she got sucked into being a streamer, obsessed with Facebook fame and followers. I foolishly tolerated it because she promised it would all end once we get to the US and she had a job. Neither of those things happened on their own. The streaming continued here for another 2 to 3 months until I finally had to shut it down. She was not happy, but she eventually let it go. What blows my mind is that she has never taken ownership of any of this. She won't admit these things were wrong or a bad example for her kids. When I try to get her to open up, she gets defensive. If I'm not actively intervening, her default is to mindlessly scroll on her phone. Why am I so conflicted? It's not all negative. She's super sweet and can be very funny, and I love her silliness at times. Her immaturity and naivety are oddly attractive. I genuinely love her despite these massive issues. I see her good heart and keep telling myself that her head just needs to work. I try to be understanding. She grew up in a family that doesn't value education or teaching practical skills. Her mother modeled the same temple behavior and didn't have responsibilities like paying electric bills. I have to hold on to the context to avoid being judgmental. But here we are at 10:30 p.m. and instead of working through this with me, she's in bed giving me the silent treatment again. I would appreciate any advice as I write this all out. The pain of feeling so alone in this relationship stings. Please try to save the comments about how dumb or foolish I've been. I already feel pathetic enough. Well, sir, you are pathetic. That's the point. That's why people write pathetic comments about you, because you yourself know deep down you are a fool, a complete simp, a prime example of every man and what they should not do. You tolerate things that should not be tolerated. You tolerate disrespect. She should be kissing your feet. You got her out of poverty. You brought her to the land of America, where every single soul on earth that's not in America wishes to be, at least most of them. Let's be honest, despite all of our flaws, America is still a desired place, especially compared to the slums and the provincial life she had in the Philippines. Instead of worshiping you, cooking for you, planning everything, taking care of your sick grandmother, she's there gambling behind your back, talking to men, and I guarantee you with my entire life that she will cheat on you the first chance she gets, that she will leave you as soon as she has her status in that country. Do yourself a favor, leave her immediately. Go for a trip back to the Philippines and come back alone. That's it. Forget her and her kids. It's unfortunate, but I promise you that's the only thing that is right here. During that trip, I promised to her, he says, let's take a step back and take a look. After she admitted talking to a man and receiving money, why did you marry this woman? I don't understand. I don't understand men like this. Where is the respect for yourself? But let's read some of the comments. Unknown person said, she's not right, but you aren't either. You see all her flaws. Can I ask you, what made you fall in love with her? What are all the good things she brings to this relationship? Personally, I would never marry someone who talks and gets money from another guy. Timrit says, based on your description, it sounds like she's 20 years old, not 35. I was going to say you need to teach her core first world skills, but at 35, she's probably never going to learn. I wish you luck. You're going to need it. Yes, perhaps she's younger and he's too embarrassed to say, number one. Then again, many men will brag about that. Or the fact that we all know that Filipinas are adults trapped, well actually, teenagers trapped in adult bodies. Harry or Jarhead says, divorce her before she becomes a citizen. Also speak to a lawyer to determine if you have to pay her alimony and child support. Move your assets around to mitigate your financial exposure. Definitely, everything you can do to separate yourself from this woman. It's a must. It's mandatory. I guarantee if you do not, you will be back on Reddit in a couple of years crying and letting us all know how you got a divorce and had to pay for everything. Asian Addict says, I was married for 23 years. My wife was 21 when I got her a fiancé visa in 1997. Your wife is 35 years old. Everything you described is a train wreck, especially because she's already 35 years old. I went to hell and back multiple times to keep my marriage together. My ex-wife was very supportive for years, but in the end, everything collapsed, partially due to an accumulation of pain and misery over the years. Your situation is much worse than mine ever was in early stages. I think the odds are overwhelmingly against your marriage turning out to be what you expect it to be. I should have ended my marriage much sooner and gained my freedom and peace of mind a decade earlier. You can never get back those years. that we wasted in bad marriage. Your future will wish you cut this off sooner than later. The pain and the loneliness only gets worse. You haven't seen anything yet. I know it's hard, but cut your losses. I wish someone gave me that advice. We are all giving this man the same advice. The point is, will he take it? But based on his own actions, his previous history, he will not, because he is a simp, king simp, weak with no values, no respect for himself, and a coward. It takes courage to end something, and he needs to do it, no matter how difficult it is. Fuga Flexer says, I mean, if you don't divorce at this point and cut ties, you're just a masochist. You're financially caring for a woman and 2 kids that aren't even yours, and she can't even be bothered to get a full-time job, flipping burgers somewhere for $15 minimum wage. You quite actually picked the worst person you could find in terms of spouse from a developing third world country. You're literally 40. I'd get it if you were like 60 or 70, I suppose, but you could have literally found someone younger. We just turned 30, late 20s, and went from there. Just divorce and move on. If you continue, she'll just kind of gamble your money away. Gambling at 35 years old, trust me, it's not going away. It's going to eat away at her every night, and she's going to do things behind your back, be secretive. Top 1% comments here. Phrasen says, you may have rushed into the relationship and marriage too fast. You helped move to her foreign country where she doesn't know how things run and the culture shock. Both streaming and secret gambling are signs that she also feels alone and that she has no other hobbies. Filipinos aren't raised the same way. So, well, no, it's not that she's alone. It's the fact that she doesn't love him, doesn't want to be with him, wants an escape into fantasy world. She wants attention from other men. No woman that loves you cares for streaming or any kind of online popularity. But this woman does not care about this man. It's simple as that. She does not love him. She only gives him occasional kind words or her body once in a while to keep him around until she gets her citizenship. Grouchy Honeydew says, you propose to someone after knowing them for, 7 to 14 days in person? Online doesn't count. The general divorce rate in the US is not 50%, and that's for people who have been dating for years in person. What do you think the divorce rate is for folks who fly to another country and marry someone they've known for 7 to 14 days? You married someone you didn't know, and you're just getting to know her while you're married to her. Go to see a relationship therapist. Yeah, let's see how that helps. Relationship therapist. Filipinos have no idea what that is. You're simply wasting your time. This man is a fool, and he should definitely immediately end this relationship. There's nothing good that can come from this. It sucks for the kids, but guess what? This is your life. It's not your problem. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel to be more informed about the truth of Filipinos and the country. Thanks for watching. God bless.